barzakh, an unseen barrier. Imagine what the scientists, the oceanologists have discovered recently. The Quran describes 14 years ago and says that sweet and salt water, they meet, but they do not mix. There is an unseen barrier, or barzakh, which is forbidden to be trespassed. And this can be seen with your naked eye, even in South Africa. If you go to the southernmost tip of South Africa in Cape Town, and you go to the Cape Point, or the Cape of Good Hope, you find the two types of waters meet, the salt and the sweet water, and you can see the barrier with your own eyes. They meet, but they do not mix. The similar phenomena can be seen in Egypt, when River Nile flows into the Mediterranean Sea, when the sweet water falls into the salty water. And the best example is the Gulf Stream. It starts from the Gulf of Mexico, passes on the east coast of North America, goes eastwards towards the west coast of Europe. It travels for thousands of miles. And if you're traveling in a ship and pick up water from one side and pick up water from the other side, you'll find that one water is sweet, the other is salty. Even the temperatures between these two water differs. Let's discuss the subject of biology. The Quran says in Surah Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 30, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. We have created every living thing from water. Will you not then believe? Imagine in the deserts of Arabia, 1400 years ago, the Quran says every living thing is made from water. Who could have believed in it? It sounds like a fairy tale. In the deserts of Arabia, where there was scarcity of water, the Quran says every living thing is made from water. Today, after science advance, we have come to know that the basic unit of every living creature, it is the cell. And the cell contains cytoplasm, which contains about 80% water. Today, science tells us every living creature contains 50 to 90% water. And no living creature can survive without water. Imagine, Quran mentioned this 1400 years ago, that every living thing is made from water. You can ask the atheist, who could have mentioned this in the Quran 1400 years ago? And he'll be silent. Today we know of a theory known as the theory of probability. Theory of probability means if you make a wild guess, what are the chances that you'll be right? For example, if you toss a coin, it can either be heads or tails. Two options. If you make a wild guess, it's head. The chances you'll be correct is 1 upon 2. It's 50%. Suppose if you toss a coin the second time, the chances you'll be correct the second time also will be 1 upon 2 is 50%. The chances that you'll be right both the times, the first time you toss a coin and the second time you toss a coin, is 1 upon 2 into 1 upon 2 is equal to 1 upon 4. 50% of 50% is equal to 25%. This is called as the theory of probability. If you toss a coin thrice and if you make a wild guess, the chances that you will be right all three times is 1 upon 2 into 1 upon 2 into 1 upon 2 is equal to 1 upon 8. It's equal to 12 is 50% of 50% of 50% is 12.5%. Suppose you throw a dice. Options are either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a cube. There are 6 options. The chances that if you make a wild guess and you'll be right when you throw a dice is 1 upon 6. If you throw a dice twice, the chances that you'll be right both the times is 1 upon 6 into 1 upon 6 is 1 upon 36. This is called as theory of probability. Suppose someone says what is mentioned in the Quran is guesswork, is fluke. Let's put this theory of probability to the Quran. Quran says the earth, the shape of the earth is spherical. Suppose the shape of the earth, you can think of 10 things. Maybe triangular, maybe quadrangle, maybe heptagonal, maybe octagonal. Maybe there are 10 shapes that you can think of. Some will say spherical, some will say cylindrical. The chances that someone make a wild guess and the answer being correct is, if there are 10 options, the chances that someone makes a wild guess and it will be correct is 1 upon 10. The Quran says, the light of the moon is its own light. It can either be its own light or it can be reflected or borrowed light. The answers are 2. If someone makes a wild guess, the chances he'll be right is 1 upon 2. The chances that someone made a wild guess, the shape of the earth being correct, and the light of the moon being borrowed light being correct, is 1 upon 10 into 1 upon 2 is equal to 1 upon 20. It is 5%. In these two options, the chances someone makes a wild guess and he'll be correct is only 5%. Now, Quran says that every living thing is made of water. Now, if you start thinking, what can the living creature be made of? You can think of 1,000 things. You may think of sand, you may think of wood, you may think of stone, you may think of skin, you may think of bone. You may think of aluminium, you may think of steel, you may think of iron. 1,000 things you can think of. Water, oil. The chances that if you make a wild guess and you'll be correct is 1 upon 1,000. 1 upon 1,000 is 0.1%. 1 upon 1,000. The chances that the world is spherical, light of the moon is borrowed light, and every living thing is made from water. All three things being correct is 1 upon 10 into 1 upon 2 into 1 upon 1,000 is equal to 1 upon 20,000. It comes to 0.05%. Only in these three things, the probability of someone being right is 0.05%. I've already mentioned so many scientific facts, and I'm going to mention more. I can keep on quoting. You can think for yourself, you being the intelligent audience, that if someone makes a wild guess, and all this being right, it will be 0.000000000. When will the one come? I don't know. And today science tells us, and mathematics tells us, that if 10 raised to 50 zeros, the answer is 0. 10 raised to negative 50 zeros, the answer is 0. So besides Quran saying every living thing is made from water in Surah Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 30. It says in Surah Nur, chapter number 24, verse number 45, we have created every animal from water. Quran says in Surah Furqan, chapter number 25, verse number 54, we have created every human being from water. If you apply the theory of probability to all these scientific facts I'm quoting, and you can think of the options, in some of the scientific facts, the option can be 1,000, some can be 10,000, some can be 2, some can be 100, some can be 500. If you keep on multiplying 1 upon 500, 1 upon 10,000, 1 upon 1,000, the net result will be 0.